The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch, and here's a note from a comic creator that you would all recognize. I'll just leave it there. I think you'd all recognize. No, please, don't write me saying, but you can tell me who really wrote. Don't. I keep my confidence. As if somebody says I don't want to be named, then I'm not going to name them, and I don't care who you are. I'm not going to name them. So just let it go. But there you go. So this is a note of somebody calling me out, which is always kind of fun. So let's get into it. It says, "Hey Perch," and I'm going to skip this first paragraph. Second paragraph. Here we go. So you often pose the advice that you give as dad advice, which is an accurate name because some of your advice feels like it's coming from a dad, a boring, stuffy dad who nobody really wants to listen to. And the reality is, that is what a lot of your advice feels like. I like your sales analysis. I like some of your takes on comics. But when you get into dad advice, you do need to understand that nobody is asking for that. Nobody wants it. This is comics. We don't need dad. We need people who are excited, people who are enthusiastic, people who want to have fun. Nobody wants to hear from dad. They just want to have fun. When you get into dad advice mode, it's like you're killing the fun. And then the mail goes on with a couple other things, including asking not to talk about who sent the mail, which is fine. That's fine. Everybody has that opportunity. And generally, I don't say any of that kind of stuff. But I did want to pose it at least from the perspective of this is coming from a creator. So why does that matter? I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't fully matter. But it is it's useful to know the mentality of the person sending that note. I have a feeling that a lot of fans or a lot of customers probably have the same feeling from time to time. When I did a video a while back talking about the difference between me as a fan versus me as a consultant, me trying to give information, there are a couple of people in there who goes, yeah, good. I don't want to hear from the consultant. I just want to hear from the fan. That's fine. I know people made videos, they want to object to some of the statements that are being made. But what's weird is when people come in to argue, they don't argue about the points being made. They argue about kind of their perception of whether it should be that way or not. What they don't tell you in some of these angry, fiery videos that come out is that the world is a certain way. It doesn't mean that we like it. Doesn't mean it's fair. It just means that it is. It's like this argument about comic books and, why aren't they selling? Is it the distribution or is it the woke? And people want to hear, especially a lot of the fans and the customers and the people who listen to a lot of the YouTube channels, they want to hear that comic books are too woke, and that's the problem. It's the sole problem. I have people sometimes who show up in the comments who will write things like, that's not really the answer as to why comics aren't selling. The real answer is woke, and I know it because that's what people are thinking. But unless you're Professor Xavier, which was a fictional character, you don't know what people are thinking. That's your guess. And it's fine. Everybody's welcome to it. But, at some point, YouTube channels start to feel like echo chambers where you're tuning in really to just kind of get the feeling that you already have validated. You really want to hear somebody say, Brian Michael Bendis is bald and stupid and puts too many words on the page. And Tom King is a depressive megalomaniac. And I could go on and on. Vita, well, whatever. You can go on and on about these people. It's fine. But in terms of nobody wants to hear from a dad, that's fine. But here's the problem. And in particular, people who are inside the comic industry, here's the problem I have. And here be my counter to that argument. First of all, you don't have to listen. For the love of God, just like I tell the fans, and they don't like it either, but you have the ability not to open up your wallet. You have the ability not to click on things. I'm not asking you for anything. Here's the difference between me and many people. I'm not asking you to buy my crowdfunded book. I'm not asking you to buy my comic. I'm not asking you to support my publisher. I'm not asking you to even click on this channel. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Sorry for my language there. Didn't mean to be salty. You can do whatever you want. It's your time. It's your game. I don't need you to do all these things. If you want to listen, you want to participate, I'm glad that you do. I'm glad to talk to you. I'm interested in hearing your opinion. I am interested in answering your questions. But if you're sitting here tortured, then don't be a pussy. Don't sit there and play the victim like, oh my God, I can't. I hate that this thing exists because I have to click on it and then I don't like what's being heard and it makes me so angry. Like, don't click. Exert some self-control. You're a grown adult, or at least I presume you are. Come on. So if you're a creator and you're listening to this and like, I can't believe I'm hearing this, it makes me so upset. Don't click. You know, particularly if you're a creator, you're getting paid. That means you are by law a grown adult. Exert some self-control, for the love of God. Same thing with these people who get onto Twitter and they're like, I can't help myself. I've got to respond to all these angry trolls. Or you could delete your Twitter, or you could just not go onto it for a few days. I mean, come on. If you feel like you are forced to reply or forced to fight, or these angry trolls are forcing you to engage, then you're an addict, and you need to look in the mirror. You're not in control of your own life. It's true for the fans. It's true for the creators. You're in charge. But here's the thing: if you work in the business, if you are working in the business of selling comics, and if you're a creator by nature, you don't, you could be upset with quote unquote dad advice or whatever you want, but it is your business. I mean, if hearing things like, hey, you ought to, clean up the solicitations so they don't sound like ass so you can actually sell your comic books, or hey, you need to get the distribution chain worked out so you have more places to sell, or hey, you need to provide some editorial control so you don't have spelling errors or pages mismatched or any of the rest. If that sounds like dad advice to you, then I guess I would tell you, should you be working in this job? Honestly, because this stuff isn't like, hey, this is basic how to keep your job kind of stuff. If you don't like it when I say things like, don't go on Twitter and complain about how hard your job is and how much you hate answering emails. If you don't like being called out on that, I mean, okay, again, close Twitter. You don't have to click. You don't have to listen. But you understand, this isn't dad advice. This is basic keep your job advice. And it's up to you. I'm not forcing you to take this. And quite frankly, quite bluntly, it's no skin off my nose if you do or if you don't. At this point, Chris Conroy is not going to take my advice for shit. And that's okay. It's his game, and maybe it will be fine and he'll continue to be employed month after month after month, or maybe he won't. I don't care. Bluntly, I don't. Well, no, that's not entirely true. I do care in the sense that I would like a strong and healthy comic industry, a strong and healthy DC. I would like that. I would desire it as a person who's going to very shortly now reemerge into the retailer world. I would prefer that this isn't a giant dumpster fire of an industry when I do that. As a fan and lover of comics and who likes to see these stories, I would prefer that those do not, implode and stop being published because somebody ran the business into the ground. I would prefer that as well. But at the end of the day, in terms of your career, I'm not invested in your career. My only investment is just like, hey, if you have the job at DC because I want DC to survive, I would prefer it if, you did your job. But other than that, hey, do what you want. Do what you want. You could stay working there. You can go work for some other publisher. You could go do your own crowdfunded book. You could go work at Starbucks and screw up making lattes. I mean, whatever, man. Whatever. It's hard for me to categorize, hey, here's a very simple way you can do your job as dad advice. If you want to call that dad advice, you're welcome to it. But at least some point, we all need to recognize to each other that this is basic keep your career advice, not dad advice. If you're mixing up the two, I don't know, maybe you never had a father, maybe there was confusion in what it meant to be a professional. I have no idea. But that's the way you should house it. And by the way, if you're a fan and you get the same kind of vibe, you don't like this kind of stuff either, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, again, don't. My only ask as a fan and as a customer is, in the midst of being pissed off about everything, at least try and find some small moments to enjoy your life. So you're not some kind of, I'm saying that selfishly, because I feel like there's enough proven evidence that if people just despise every effing thing they do in their life, they eventually become crazy maniacs, and then, we all have to deal with you. I would prefer if that day didn't come. But again, whatever you feel into. I think. Look, I'm say it this way, and who knows how many people even make it this far in the video. Try and like you are right about one thing. Person who wrote the mail. People do come to comic books to have fun. Absolutely, they do. That is the bias of how people come into this. That is what they want. That is what they kind of strive to be. They want to have fun. And ask yourself, am I doing, or is my company doing, or are my actions getting in the way of that simple challenge, that simple goal? Have fun. Because success for your career, success for comics, typically is figuring out the core of what people are after. In this case, fun, enjoyable, immersive, engaging experience of reading a comic book. That's what they want. And try and figure out a way to deliver on that as cheaply, as simply, as most effectively as possible. That's what your goal is. That's what comic is all about. It is about enabling fun. And as people will tell you, you do need to take your job of enabling fun seriously, meaning you need to be serious about enabling fun. It's my impression that, like Scott Snyder, who throws out books, he seems to be having fun. I don't know if he is. I'm not his therapist. I do not live next door to him. I have no idea. Like a lot of things on social media, how somebody presents there and how they are in real life are often two different things. The guy seems like he's having fun. He's churning out books and he's doing his thing and seems to be having fun. Cool. Make sure you have fun. If you're having fun, chances are your work will reflect that you have fun, and other people will have fun. And at the end of the day, that's more than half the battle right there. Anyway, crazy times. Thanks for writing, but most importantly, look, if you feel like you're getting agitated and pissed off and worked up, I do mean it. And this isn't like a Kelly Sue DeConnick thing. Don't listen. Seriously. Thanks for listening, but don't listen. But thanks for listening. But you know what I mean.